Welcome to SCPs with Steven, a new series where I spin a wheel with 1,000 different SCPs listed on the SCP Wiki, and talk about them for a bit. It should be noted these are not all of the SCPs that exist online. There are thousands more listed under its own series on the Wiki, which I will leave a link to below. But without further ado, let's give the wheel its very first spin.
SCP-481. SCP-481. Scar Tissue. Object Class: Euclid. Description: SCP-481 was originally a clustered pattern of scars, roughly corresponding to a variably partial map of Redacted, India. Appearing on SCP-481-1, formerly Miss Redacted. Since at least 1990 Redacted, SCP-481 has since spread to SCP-481-2, formerly Agent Redacted. See Addendum 481-01. When SCP-481 first manifested on SCP-481-1, it appeared as a small series of crisscrossing scars that has been found to correspond to the neighborhood of Redacted in Redacted. While it is still not readily apparent why this town is being mapped, the sympathetic effects of the scars and city are readily apparent. The scars are a perfect recreation of the town. Streets and alleys appear as straight scars resembling lacerations made with a dull cutting instrument. Buildings are represented by scar nodes. A small canal flowing through the town is represented as a jagged scar across the abdomen of SCP-481-1. The growth of new scars corresponds to the expansion of the already overcrowded town/city, including slums set up on unofficial roads. Described as very painful by both SCP-481-1 and -2, the effect is not limited to growth. Any demolition leads to a severely painful scouring of the corresponding scar patterns. Scars currently cover 100% of the skin, including the scalp, of SCP-481-1, and approximately 47% of the skin of SCP-481-2, from the shoulders to the lower torso, including both arms. SCP-481-1 has shown tendencies to self-harm since her incarceration. Any scars left by this faded completely within 20 days and did not correspond to changes in the city architecture. It was therefore believed that the self-inflicted scars were merely an expression of SCP-481-1's frustration with their containment. This has since been proven inaccurate by Incident 481-1-01. Let's now talk about SCP-481 and my thoughts on it, just for a little while. We know that SCP-481 was a clustered pattern of scars, corresponding to a particular location, and depending on what happens in that location, the scars either expand or retract. But no matter what happens, the two people that have been affected by this, SCP-481-1 and SCP-481-2, feel every part of it. Anything that is done in this town, whether it is demolitioned or expanded, the scars on their skin are affected. Think of it almost as like a symbiote. Anything that happens to this place happens to them on their skin. Except instead of the symbiote really helping in any way, it's extremely detrimental to the host it's attached to. Now is the part in this episode, for the beginning of the series, where I'm going to share my personal thoughts about this SCP. It's not a crazy, complicated SCP. Pretty straightforward. It's a symbiotic scar that adapts based on what happens to a city. Now, how does this affect society? How would it affect it? Is this beneficial? Is this detrimental? Or is it a bit of both? Or is it mundane? For this SCP, I would say this is overall detrimental. It doesn't provide any benefit that is described in the description itself. The only thing it seems to do is to make things worse for SCP-481-1 and 481-2, who have been infected with this. The more that happens to this place where the scar is taking reference from, the more harm that comes to these people. I personally do not see any real benefit from this SCP. The only thing I can see it doing is just hurting these people. It doesn't seem to bring anything of benefit to society as a whole. Now let's give it a threat class. It says an object class, Euclid. I would say in terms of threat class, this is dangerous. Dangerous because if it spreads, it could cause global scale pain. So, what's my conclusion on this? I would say overall SCP-481 is dangerous, but I wouldn't say it's the most dangerous out of the SCPs, not even close. However, I do not see this as being beneficial in any way whatsoever to society. I seeing this being only detrimental. And I think with that brings us to a close of SCP-481. End of file.